So very excited to welcome back our next guest to Off the Podium. Since we last spoke with her, she's been a busy beaver, winning a gold medal at the Pacific Games and competing in her second Olympic Games in Paris, where she finished in the round of 16. And I'm very intrigued to learn a little bit more about that experience and everything else that has happened since we last had her on the show to talk about the great sport of taekwondo. It's a pleasure to welcome back Stacey Hymer. Stacey, welcome back to Off the Podium.
Hello, and thanks for having me back. I'm
It's
excited to unwrap everything Olympics and after the Olympics. So let's
Yes,
go.
it's exciting. It's always great to have people wanting to return to the show, so that's always a positive. And obviously, particularly when a lot has happened since then, because we're doing this. What, about 8 months after the Olympics? That's not that long, is it? No, 6 months, 7 months. I can't count, Stacey. It's been a few months since the Olympics. Let's just say that to make it easier. But I mean, I'm going to start off with how has it been since Paris? Has it calmed down? Are you sort of just back into regular life now since your second Olympic Games?
It's been pretty crazy and pretty full on, but it's been so much fun. I've been out and about quite a bit. And, the games just was like obviously a huge thing, but then coming back, it's just been full steam ahead in seeing people, making meetings, going out socializing, absolutely everything.
Have you found it different a second time around? Because, I mean, Tokyo was a very different Olympics, of course, to Paris. And, I mean, little thing like you had to quarantine, obviously, when you came back home, things like that. But given now that this is your second Olympics, is it something a little bit more that you're used to that extra attention that being an Olympian brings you and that you can maybe do things slightly differently a second time around than you did that first time after Tokyo?
Yeah, I was more like ready for it now and more wanting it at the same time. So it was like whatever that was going to come my way, I was saying yes to everything. And I was really like proactive as well in wanting to get out there and put my face into that, into the public eye a little bit more. Whereas before, I think I was a little bit shy and didn't really know what to expect. And now I was just like, yep, like let's go. Like, everything comes my way, we'll jump on it, more opportunities. And also like networking quite a lot. I think I've joined a few like female proactive networks and really getting involved and talking to other athletes as well. So just like getting to know the bit of a pool of athletes a bit more and even more on like a personal level as well. So like catching up for a coffee or going out doing activities, whatever it is, I've just been so much more proactive and it's been so much more rewarding as well.
Because I've really enjoyed that on your social media, seeing you go out to a lot of events. Like you're going to like derby days, you're going to the races, you're doing a lot of promotional stuff for a lot of products, it seems. You're doing a lot more sort of social media videos with like your training and things like that. So it seems like you are really embracing sort of this, attention that you get from the Olympics and kind of using that on many different levels for advantages.
Yeah, I definitely am. I mean, you got to get this snowball going and you just don't want to stop. And, like it is important for, athlete personal branding and things like that. So I'm just trying to keep building that up and hopefully more opportunities do come. But at the same time, I'm just having fun with it. Like, I'm not like really serious or really like, I must post this or something. I'm just like going with it. So it is a lot of fun and yeah, you just enjoy it. Yeah.
Because I know we talked a lot about last time about being really important for you to promote the sport of taekwondo and sort of expose that out there a lot more to people that may be aware of it. So I'm guessing using that platform that you're doing is a hope also that you can get maybe particularly young girls, as you're sort of saying with some of the female initiatives, to get them sort of involved in the sport, particularly when we're in this great cycle of Australian sport right now where we're hosting an Olympics in the next decade. So, who knows, might see that and be inspired to go towards Brisbane and beyond.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been hosting a few taekwondo workshops as well as just to like kind of teach that young generation who probably don't get a lot of one-on-one time or personalized time with an elite athlete or with like a professional point of view on sparring and like how to reach that next professional level in their career. So just doing my part in the community and in like the taekwondo community will really go a long way. And if it means I can change, a young, girl, guy's mindset into going to the next games or really like focusing in and dialing and, putting in those little one percenters that you do learn when you're really young to kind of, change your either mentality or physical approach into going to training and competitions. You know, who knows what's going to happen in 2032. We are wanting a medal, Australian Taekwondo medal, Olympic medal. And so, if someone can do it for us, I'm hoping that either myself or the next generation can do that for us because we are putting in that work. And I think having that connection with the juniors and all the young people coming up is really important. And so that way they can, if they see you, say, at a competition, they feel free to come up, ask them questions and get to know you a bit more personally. So you're not just, a person in the screen and what they see on TV. They understand you that little bit more of what it takes to actually get to the games and the work behind all the things.
Because even in the lead up to Paris, I noticed a lot of your posting sort of some of the other media that you had done and something like you appeared, I think, in like what, the K Zone magazine, basically where like young kids are getting that right and they're just sort of learning about these other sports. So, I mean, something as little as that, who knows who's reading that and who knows what that might do to them, inspire them to look up, hey, what's Taekwondo? I want to get involved into this.
Yeah, exactly. And like, when you go out to schools and you talk to all the students, like they're always, I show them little clips and videos, and they're always just so like, my God, like, what is this for? Like, how have we never seen this before? And I'm just like, this is why I'm here. Like, it's an awesome sport to get around. It's so entertaining. It's so like thrilling. It's fast paced. It keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time. And, the skill set involved in it is just, unparalleled. So, if someone can get motivated to jump in and join, a club or anything, that's a good win in itself.
As I mentioned, since we last spoke, obviously we had the little fact of Paris, and we'll obviously get to Paris. But one thing I wanted to touch on quickly before we get to that journey are the Pacific Games. Now, you hadn't gone to them when we had recorded our last interview. I think we released the interview just when you were there in the Solomon Islands. Briefly going over that experience, you come away with a gold medal in that event. We've had a few guests on the show talk very highly about their time sort of at those Pacific Games. But can you give us a brief overview of what that experience was like and sort of, coming away with the gold must have been a good little boost heading into 2024, going into that Olympic year?
Yeah, like the Pacific Games is definitely it's just look, it's just a nice competition to go there and again be part of the Pacific Islands, the Australia, all the other Oceania countries and again to be respectful for one another, to look after one another, but to also get the job done. Like we are there to win and you do get lots of I'm pretty sure you get points from it, but as well as you have to have good relationships with these other countries because when it comes to qualifiers, you need to be able to make sure that everybody's that respected and they're looked after. Um, and so again, if you can build up, the standard and talent in the Oceania region, that will make competitions harder, which then lifts you up. It makes you have to train harder and perform better or smarter. And so, again, trying to get the word out there to more of the Oceania countries and yeah, lifting the standard is really important.
Because I know you talked a lot last time about that, Australia on the global stage of Taekwondo and sort of where we are and sort of what it takes to get better. And I can imagine that going to these events because, say, Taekwondo is not a Commonwealth Games sport, for example. So there's very few, I guess, global events, maybe multi-sport events where you're able to go and compete and sort of go up against these countries. And then for countries in the Pacific, as you're saying, it's important for them to maybe come up against competitors where they're not going to be going to these other sporting events as well. So it's sort of positives for everybody really involved in an event like that.
It is, and it feels good to be part of it. I think that was my first Pacific Games that I actually went to because I didn't go to the previous one. And you get to meet the other athletes on the Australian team. You're experiencing, a new country, a new culture altogether. And yeah, when you meet the other Australians, you're all roughly around the same, like similar age group, and you get to know them. And then when you see them at another event, that's a face you can go up to and say hi to, and you feel a bit more familiar with. Otherwise, when it's just first time meeting, sometimes it can be that little bit like confronting in a way, like, who are you? But when then you get to know them, you get to meet, you have fun with them, you realize we're all the same. Like athletes just want to be here because they love the sport and they enjoy it. And so I really enjoyed, meeting all the other Australian athletes from other sports. It's the best thing. Like that's like when you go to big competitions like that, like that's what you want. You want to be able to meet other people and enjoy your time there.
Do you get close with certain sports? Obviously, I know the combat sports are quite close, sort of you're all under the same umbrella, but are there other sports that you've found where, be it at the Pacific Games, the Olympic Games, that when you meet maybe, I don't know, somebody from table tennis, somebody from, I don't know, water polo, like, they're a bit more of a loose unit than maybe you're expecting that somebody from that sport is going to be?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I got along well with a lot of the beach volleyball players from like the Olympic Games. Like they really took me under the wing, which I'm really appreciative of. And then I met heaps of rowers as well, female and male rowers. Like they're lots of fun and great people as well. And a few people from like the athletics teams, I got to know and I became really close with because I had met them previously at the Pacific Games. So I saw their faces, and so then when I saw
You
them in
knew
Paris,
them.
like, oh my God, we know each other. And so again,
Nice.
it's just so fun and I love it. And then when you see each other like at the games, you get to ask each other so much more personal questions because you've got that quality time together. If you're eating breakfast together or lunch together, and those are things I really love. And yeah, I don't know, and just all sports in between. I think weightlifting, um, I can't even remember now. There's just so many, but everybody was like so willing to get to know you as well, which I loved. So when you're sitting down, in Paris watching the other sports on the TV, someone will come sit next to you, and then you start chatting, you get to know them. You get to know where they live, what foods they eat, what their passion is outside of sports, and those things are really valuable to me. And so when you then connect with them on social media, you get to know them a little bit more, and you're just so supportive of whatever the next, task that they're onto is.
And because you also find that, I can imagine, at all the events post Pacific Games, post an Olympics, there are obviously a lot of functions you get to go to as an Olympian. As you said, you go to schools and things like that. You might sort of be doing it with another athlete from another sport. So there's always those moments to share. And as you said, questions. Like I can imagine, you're getting asked a lot of questions maybe from somebody who is in a sport like, oh, we all know what basketball is. We all know what running is. But hey, what's taekwondo? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and as soon as I would tell people, like, because I was the only female on the taekwondo team. So if I wasn't like with my coaches or with the other guys, like I was pretty much by myself. And so other people, they would just come up and start chatting with me. And, and at first they can never pick what sport I'm from. And
Mm.
so when they always ask, like, "What sport are you?" I'm like, "I'm taekwondo." They're like, "Oh my God, like that's so cool." Then they're like, "How does it work? How does the scoring work? What do you wear? Like, what's your training look like?" Like absolutely everything. So I just give them the whole spiel of everything, and they're just like, "Oh, that's so cool." And then there was actually some athletes, and they were so interested, they actually came and watched us at
Oh, wow.
in the Grand Palais, in the venue. And again, like, I find that really, like, touching in a way. I'm like, "Thank you for doing that," because clearly, it's taekwondo compared to other sports in Australia probably don't get that many viewers. And so I'm like, "Thank you for actually coming out of your way, jumping on the bus with us to go and watch a sport that you've never seen before, and, you want to learn about this sport." And so I just,
Fantastic.
like, so valuable, and I really loved seeing that, and everybody got around it as well. Like, we're also supportive of watching the next person on the TV, so everybody would sit around and watch, it was just great.
It's actually funny you say that because I do remember one of the days that I was at Taekwondo and sort of walking through the halls of the Grand Palais, very daunting venue and easy to get lost in. But I remember one of the doors near the media entrance, there was a bunch of Australian team officials coming out. And of course, I'm in Australian uniform, so it's always a case of, how you doing, But Kieran Perkins walks out, and obviously Kieran's there in an official capacity. But he's obviously there to watch. And I can't remember if that was the day you competed, whether it was Leon who was competing that day. But it's sort of, I always found it like really good when you saw these very high, bigwig officials of the Australian Olympic team going to sports like that. Like I would see, I think the day Ian Chesterman, the CEO, he was there at table tennis one day, just there. And it's just like, it's great to see that. Anna Mears was out there at so many different places. So it's great, obviously, from athletes to the officials that they are supporting all the sports that Australia competed in Paris, and not just the ones that you'd expect them to be at, like swimming or athletics or places like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And when they get to know you as well, like they always come up and like all the officials and, Ian Chesterman, he always comes up and says hi. Like I really appreciate that and I love that because, he's taking that time to get to know you. And yeah, again, it's just valuable and makes you feel really included and, welcome within that space. So yeah, I do love it.
You gave one of the best answers I'd ever had on this show, Stacey, the last time we interviewed you. Your reaction to when you qualified for Tokyo was basically like, fuck yeah, I'm going there. I'd love to hear when you got that ticket to Paris. Was it quite that level of excitement, or was it a bit more reserved this time now? Because you're like, it's the Olympics. I've done this before. It's just my job now.
Yeah, I think I did the same reaction, I was probably, like, jumping up and down with my family once again, and because, when you're going for the next games, like, like, I knew right at the start, I was like, "If I'm gonna go to this, like, I need to put in way more effort, way more work than I did previously, to get to that next level or to go ahead of, everybody else." And so you just, like, pat yourself on the back, being like, "I've done it," like, I've just done it, it's so good. And so that's why, if I'm going to go to this next games, I know I have to put in more work, more effort, more time and energy into it to be able to, get selected, go to qualifiers, make it to, semifinals, finals of, bigger competitions. So everything comes into play and you're just like, "Oh, like, thank you." Like, the big, "Fuck yeah, I've done it again." It's good, and it's a big pat yourself on the back moment.
I can imagine, though, going into a second Olympics, you know what to expect more. So whereas maybe that first time, I'm not sure if there was maybe a lot more nerves. You'd never been to an Olympics. You didn't know what to expect. Did you find second time around all those little aspects that come with an Olympics, you knew what to expect more, so you could focus more on the competition side of things and not have that as a distraction, if that makes sense?
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Going into Paris, I was so much more calm. I was so much more like, energized and ready to go. But again, I definitely had the nerves. Like I don't think I can ever live without the nerves. But like having like good night's sleep before, eating well, just being calm, throughout the entire process and step by step in, the training before, the warm up before your fight, and then competing, and then taking in, the whole, scenery and environment around you. Again, those are the things that I really remember, and I'm proud of myself to, to stay calm. I wasn't like overthinking. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't, frantic or over energized. I was actually at a really good level and I was ready to go. I was focused. I was motivated. I was excited. And, I really think I made the most of it while I was
Did
there.
you did you feel that with everything you were just saying there that obviously you're going there to medal, but I mean that confidence level was there that you went into Paris best you felt and that this was legitimately what you were going to do. You were going to walk away with a medal.
Oh yeah, like you walk in thinking it's your day and fighting, I think I did everything that I could my strategically, like what we practice, what we put into play, my natural instincts, like everything I was able to read play. Just finding those scoring options was difficult. We were both very conservative fighters and very like cagey in a way. But when it had to come, when I had to try and attack to find points, Like, of course, I'm going to open myself up and she's going to score. But, you know, finding the scoring options was difficult. But I was still able to move and react in a way that I could best. Um, and then, yeah, it was just like, placement of your foot on the chest protector. I just couldn't get that. And that was it, which is a shame because obviously you want it so bad. And I did, I visioned myself going all the way through to the finals. I visioned myself in that final moment, taking it all in, arms out wide, like I'm here. But
We'll
yeah,
come back
this
to
is what it is.
the fight, Maria, shortly because yeah, a lot to talk on that one. But I mean, I'd love to get your thoughts on when you get to Paris and sort of. Actually, I'll rephrase that question. When did you actually get to Paris? Because it was different to Tokyo this time around, wasn't it? Tokyo, you basically competed at the very beginning of the tournament, the Olympics. This time around, it was right at the back end. So were you in Paris for the sort of a long period of time? Did you arrive sort of just a couple of days beforehand? Like, when do you get yourself to the Olympic City to acclimatize yourself for where you are going to be competing?
We arrived the second week of the game, so about 6 or 7 days before my fight. And
Right.
so we had a few days to settle in, to go to training, to acclimatize, to get our uniform, to walk around, to relax, and then to prepare for weigh-in and then prepare for competition. So yeah, I definitely had time to, ease myself in and then go to comp.
So where do you base yourself before that? Because a lot of athletes, obviously, beforehand were based in lots of different parts around Europe. I mean, I'm not sure where the taekwondo athletes were. Sort of, where do you find yourself based before you actually go to Paris?
I was in Melbourne and, just, at home doing my usual thing. And then you just go to the airport with your team
So you
and off
basically
you go.
Melbourne to Europe. Like, there's not even like a Europe base camp essentially before Paris. So you've got to wow, that's a bit. You got to overcome the jet lag and everything too. Then by the time you get to Paris.
Yeah, yeah, you get off the plane, your legs are swollen, but that's it. Keep going.
Wow. Is it distracting? Like, are you watching like the opening ceremony, the build up there? Because I mean, the vibe in the ground in Australia is obviously like, wow, the Olympics are here, and then you've got this sort of little aspect of going, well, I'm kind of competing there in about a week or so I've got to not be distracted at the same time as getting excited for an Olympic Games at the same time.
Yeah, like even when I go to my local yeah, cafe, they're like to me, "Aren't you meant to be over there now?" And I'm like, "I'm getting there. Like we're leaving in a couple of days."
I forgot
And
something. Shit.
yeah. I was like, not yet. And then,
Not
I'm
yet.
watching the opening ceremony literally on my couch, as I'm doing random things around the house, like my auntie's coming over and we're watching it together, we're having tea together, we're chatting away. And so you're just like, you're just holding the horses in that moment and you're just waiting, a couple of days and then you're off.
Just getting rid of it. Did you like that better this time around, being at the back end, or would have you preferred to be competing at the front and then maybe getting to enjoy the Olympics more after you've competed?
I really enjoyed competing in the second half of the games. And because, everybody had their either finals or last, set of competitions. So the atmosphere and the vibes were really high and you could really feel that. And, after every competition, it was either you've medaled or you've lost. So it was like a really, an edge of your seat the entire time. And so you're constantly like checking in on the other players, like, how'd you go? Or, how was your training? How you feeling? When's your next comp? Because everybody, it was literally that fine line between winning, losing, medaling, or going home. It was pretty intense, but I loved it.
So I don't think they've released the full schedule for LA yet, so I'm not sure whether or not Taekwondo is in the first or the second week. But we're just saying right now for our Brisbane organisers, listen to Stacey. She prefers it in the second week. So to help our Taekwondo athletes come 7 years' time, we need to listen to those who have been there. So I'm trying to help you out there, Stacey, that maybe if LA ignore what we're saying right now, we can get that for Brisbane at least, right?
Yeah. Thank you
That's
very
what
much.
You're welcome. That's what we aim to do a service here on the show. I mean, the venue, the Grand Palais, I mean, just absolutely stunning. Do you remember your first time showing up to that venue and just what your reaction was like to realize this is where you're going to be competing?
Yeah, when we went to the venue tour, a couple of days before weigh-in, the you're walking around, you're just like, "This is incredible, this venue." Like, you've never seen anything like it. And they had everything set up. They had all the different rooms. You go to your warm up, you go to eat your lunch, you go to if you wanted to go on the treadmills or the bikes, you could. They just had, different sections, and you're just walking through it all. It's like, this is so nice. Like everything is so nice.
Do you
You
feel
know,
a little bit like I felt daunted walking around those halls because I felt like I was going to break something? This is so historical and like it's just like, oh, I don't want to chip a bit of paint or something like that. Do you feel a bit nervous that you're going to damage history at any point?
yeah, like you kind of didn't want to touch anything. Like you had your
Yeah.
hands to yourselves and you're like, oh my God. And and then you look out and you see the dome and it's just amazing. But where we entered from, it was kind of closed off and then you could only see the dome at the top. But then as it kind of opened up because they had the two staircases coming down, that's where we got to see everything because we were standing at the top and we are just like, this is incredible. And that's where we got all our photos and, all our selfies and everything. And then we made it downstairs where the mats are. And again, you're just like taking it all in. You're seeing where the seating is and like, where the media is and the judges are and the big screens. You're like, this is going to be sick. Like it's getting you rolled up and you're like, yeah, this is gonna be so good. Can't wait to walk out of this entrance, walk here, like do this. Yeah, it was awesome.
I have to say that of all the venues and events that I went to, I think probably the most excited I saw any athlete from any sport were taekwondo athletes coming out when you saw it. Like it didn't matter, at what point of the competition, you all had a smile on your face and you're like, holy crap, this is where I'm competing. Like this is insane.
Yeah, it was a beautiful venue, and I'm so happy we got, I'm gonna say, the best venue. And so I just think, good. Like we deserve it. We, work hard. We want to be in a beautiful place, a beautiful venue. So it was good.
And also family. You had family there. You had fans there. Obviously, Tokyo, you couldn't have them there. So how was that experience being able to have family and friends actually there on the ground with you watching you compete?
It was the best. And, like when you walk out and you see your mum, your sister, the Australian flag, and they're just screaming their heads off. I was just like, yeah, like this is good. And, my brother and my sister's boyfriend, they were also there in the stands. And when I went and saw them all after the fight, like my brother, he completely lost his voice from yelling
Wow.
so much. And my mum, she was, teary, crying. My sister, I think she nearly lost her voice as well, but like, just the excitement that it brings to our family, sporting, your sister or whoever competing, it was just unbelievable. These are the things that I'm going to remember forever. Everybody yelling their head off and, going crazy. I mean, they actually got told off as well for having the Australian
Wow.
flag hanging over the barriers because it was covering the signage. And so they got told off so many times by security. But like my mom and my sister,
Wow.
we didn't care. They're like, we're
Oh,
here.
what are you going to
We're going to
do?
make
Kick
this a
us out? We're
scene.
flying from Australia. Come on.
Exactly. We're here loud
Wow.
and proud. Yeah.
You kind of almost want to get told off if you're a fan in the Olympics, right? Like it's a badge of honor because you were there cheering so much that they had to tell you off. Like that's wear that with pride. I think who
Exactly.
cares if you couldn't see the logo of one of the sponsors for 5 minutes? Like come on,
Yeah.
that's all that matters there at the end. Just before we get to the actual the match, the bout, so obviously it's different for each sport. But when do you actually get your draw? Like when do you find out you're up against Maria? Is that like a day before, a couple of days before? When are you aware of your opponent?
Day before. So
Day
we
before.
have a
Wow.
rough kind of idea. We can make a mock draw leading
Hmm.
into it. And we thought I was going to fight China. And so it was basically out of China or Brazil, but we really thought we were going to fight China. And, she's about 2 feet tall. She's a lot taller than I am. So I was preparing, with the boys at training, and they're about 2 feet tall just to
And to
get
interrupt,
some,
this is the number one in the world. The Chinese, she was the number one, the one who she going to win silver, did she not? Or not silver? No, she didn't win a medal. She lost the bronze.
she's
But
in the middle.
I'm talking about the
Yeah.
right one though. The number one in the world. Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right. Okay, there you go. Wow.
Yeah. So we thought we were going to fight her, and there was always a possibility that we were going to fight Brazil. But it wasn't like, we weren't really certain. And then, you have your weigh in, and then after weigh in, about 4 o'clock, that's when the draw gets released and the seedings and everything. So because Maria, she was seated 8, I was seated 9, we fight each other off, and so that's just the way it works.
Now, on paper, as somebody who, watches Taekwondo every 4 years at the Olympics, Stacey, and that's my usual knowledge, I'm going to say if I'm the ranked number 9, I'd rather go up against ranked number 8 than ranked number 1 straight away. But is that how you look at it? Because I guess if you're going up against number 1 and you lose, maybe they've got a better chance of going deeper, so you then get repechage. Like, I mean, how do you look at that? Would you rather fight the number 1 or the number 8, or you don't care?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's difficult to say, but I really liked fighting Maria, preferably over China, because I haven't fought her before. She's roughly around my same height. Of course, we're roughly around the same weight, but I just think it was so much more of an even battle in itself to be able to. There's a good chance that I can win. I have a good draw to get to the next stage. And so I had that confidence in myself as soon as I found out. So I was like, yeah, let's fucking go. Like this is good. Like we were all happy. My coaches were happy. We had our strategy in play. So whatever was to come, I'd be confident. But knowing that it was her, I was like, yeah, this is good. I've got this.
You've obviously researched a lot in the lead up and everything, but do you spend that night going over tapes, going over her technique, and as you said, working out your strategy, or have you done so much work on that you don't need to do that and you just relax the night before and do something a little bit different?
We just relaxed the night before. We did study prior, so again, it was just refreshing the mind. We practice everything at training and lead up. So, and again, I didn't want to overthink anything either. That was one of my key things, going into a competition so large. I didn't want to overstimulate myself because I know that can happen to me at times. And so just staying calm, relaxed, and really just trusting that I've done everything that I can in this moment to prepare. So just, yeah, again, it's just staying as calm as possible and focusing on my good night's sleep. Like, find out it's hurt. Okay, cool. Let's have a good sleep, let's have a good dinner. And then you wake up feeling refreshed, ready to
How
go.
do you sleep the night before an Olympic competition, Stacey? Like, is it just another night? Is there a bit more nerves? Like, I mean, like, I can't imagine what that's like going to sleep the next day knowing you're waking up competing in an Olympic Games.
I think it took training in itself to have a good sleep before a competition. And that was one thing I really, really tried to do because sometimes I just have shocking sleeps the night before. And then I'll have to nap, during, as soon as I get to the comp venue because I'm so exhausted. But this time round, because I actually trained my sleep before a competition, leading into all the other prior competitions, done before sleep, practice, practice, practice. Now Olympics comes and I was just calm, relaxed. I was still nervous, of course, a little bit, but I was like, like, you're just calm. Your mind is calm. And that was really, really important to me to have that good night's sleep so you can wake up and you're just like on and you're just ready to go. Laser sharpness.
I love hearing that because it's just, I mean, I'm not an Olympian, never been an Olympian, but like sometimes you just have those nights where you just can't get to sleep. Maybe you got something on the next day, you're a bit nervous or something, it's playing in your mind. So, it goes there. But I love hearing that mindset of training yourself to sleep. I've never heard it quite described that way before, Stacey.
It's important, right? Sleep
Yeah.
is my number one thing. Honestly, it's food and sleep. If I'm hungry, I'm angry. If don't have a good sleep, I'm angry. So I have to
Doesn't
make sure
anger help you in
everything's good
Taekwondo
and in
though?
place.
Doesn't anger help you a little bit on the mat, or not too angry?
It's calming. It's the calm
Right.
part.
The calm part. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. See,
Fighting
I'm
makes you
learning.
calm. Yeah.
Always learning here. One thing that I mean, we'll get to the fight, but this is sort of going to something you told me afterwards when I interviewed you after your fight. You said that when you got out there, you felt those jelly legs. You feel that weight on your legs again, just as you're about to compete. So, can you maybe just explain a little bit? Like, does that feed into the nerves? Is it sort of the the occasion of what you're doing there? I mean, describe to me what I guess you mean by that, by feeling those jelly legs when you're about to start.
It's like you're feeling good, and then as soon as you take those little steps to get onto the mat, that's when it kinda just, like, hits you, and you're just like, "Oh my god, I have to fight."
I'm here for something. It's not just to look at the beautiful architecture. I'm here to, okay, gotcha. Wow. And how do you overcome that? Like, is it sort of something that as soon as you're into it, that it's the mentality, you're there to do your job? I mean, how do you overcome that initial jelliness in the legs?
It's just natural flow, natural instinct in that moment. I just know what to do. I know how to move. And one thing when I start using my footwork and when I start moving around, that's when everything just starts to calm down. You're just like you're moving, you just know what to do. You're just getting a feel for the mats. You're there, you're in that moment, right? And so that's when it kind of pulls me in when I start, focusing on my footwork and I start motioning, moving around. I start seeing her reactions and things like that. I'm like, okay, naturally moving. Yeah, because you don't think a lot when you're fine. You're just in the moment so much.
Well, I rewatched the fight before this interview, Stacey, and I mean, I was there, and like, it's the thing that amazed me the most about the sport. I'd never seen it in person. It's so fast, and I'm watching it going like, how are you able to think and counter? Because she comes out firing, like she's all on her feet, and you're having to defend, but then you're obviously having to try and counter and everything on those lines, and it's just so quickly. So it amazes me that yourself and any other taekwondo athlete has a moment to even have a thought in your head, because I'd be shitting myself. I'd be going, oh my God, this woman's coming towards me. Like, what the fuck do I do? But you're able to sort of compose that and do that. So, I mean, it's I will say, from a completely noob to the sport, watching it live, it's very impressive to see how you're able to do that in person.
Yeah, like one of the things that I was focusing on, having good footwork, making sure I didn't get kicked in the head because she's got a really good front leg and she's really fast as well. So having like good defense and my arms always ready, to counter block or move around. That was the important part. And having that good distance where you're in distance, and if she kicks, you can quickly get out, move around, reset, and then attack forward. And so yeah, you're just in there in that moment, but again, you just have that strategy. You just know how to move. You just know how to react. You see play, in that moment. So it's what training does. Just gets you in that zone.
In that first
Where
round,
did you watch the fight? Because I've watched it once, but I haven't watched it twice yet.
if you actually the Olympic channel on the Olympics.com, actually you sign up for a free account, and they actually have the full like 3 hour day of your bouts. Obviously not just your event, but like the other, I think whatever the other men's category was on that day. So I can send you a link to it. It's completely free and legal to watch, but it's because I was sort of, again, trying to refresh my memory having been there, but then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, thank you, Olympics.com. You're actually enabling me able to watch this. But I mean, she sort of, about a minute into that first round when the first scores come out there, and again, please correct my butchering of any terminology here in Taekwondo, Stacey, but you obviously go in for sort of more of a punch into her body. She lands a kick. She gets on the board. She ends up taking that first round 5-0. Again, as a complete noob, as somebody who's not a judge in the World Taekwondo, I thought you got more hits in than implied on the scoreboard. I don't know if you feel the same way. Feel free to let out any anger if you do. But I mean, kind of, what is said to you by your coach after that first round when you're down one round? You've obviously got to win the next round to make it go to a third round. And how did you feel after that first round? Did you land? Did you get points? Like I'm trying to say here that you did, Stacey.
She clearly won that round 5-0. And that was because she had the register to start with. And then that's why I had to attack to like make points. And she just used her front leg to like cut because I was just coming forward. So I was in that distance. And then when I landed that punch, I thought that punch was going to score at least, but it didn't. And then when
Why?
she scored,
Can I ask you why
in that
didn't
counter,
it score? If you're connecting with the plate, doesn't that score? Like, explain to me how that doesn't score.
it's a bit subjective in a way. It's up to the referees on the outer side. They manually score the punch. So if they see it's a good punch, it's a good punch. If they don't see it's a good punch, then they won't score it. It's very judgmental in that way. but like that's just the way it is. And
You were
I thought
robbed.
I did
You
a
were
good
robbed,
punch,
Stacey.
so that's okay.
You were robbed. I'm telling you now. You were robbed. Shouldn't got the scores. Because the thing that it ultimately comes down to, right? So in the second round, where essentially it's scoreless, it comes down to the fact that she landed more hits to the template or whatever you call the body plate. Is that correct? And that's essentially why she ended up taking that second round, because it was like a tiebreaker, right?
Yeah. And so it was just a little touch she had on the chest guard, which
Right.
registers that she's touched it. It's not
So
exactly a
essentially,
point.
very like
Yeah.
little touch, because she got more of those than you essentially, and that
I just
breaks
got
the
one.
tiebreaker. She just got one. That's all it took.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it burns. I know. It burns me. Still to this
I
day, I'm like, oh my God.
That's
And it
insane.
it happened at World Championships, as well, previous one where she just won on a register. And that's all it takes, you know? Oh,
Because to clarify, it's obviously if you had won that second round, you then go to a third round, and then it's kind of what winner takes all, right? So does that mean that in her position, and let's flip it around, you're in her position, say you've taken the first round, is it generally the way to go to be more defensive and take it to a tiebreaker, just get that one hit because you know you've got the advantage no matter what, so therefore you can do that way? Is that a strategy in itself, I guess, what I'm trying to ask there?
it can be. It definitely can be. And yeah, it just depends who you're fighting and your skill set of how like yeah, just your strategy with your coaches. But yeah, like if I was to get into the third round, like I would have loved that because I think things would have been a little bit different. I think we both would have been fighting a little bit more aggressively instead of both a bit cagey and conservative in a way, more countery. So yeah, I think I don't know. I don't know. I
You
don't
said,
know.
I was going to say, you said it burns. I mean, it's been a few months, though. I mean, does it still burn? Because I mean, the thing that's hard to read with you, Stacey, is you're so smiley, you're so happy, and I remember interviewing you directly after you'd lost, and you still had a smile on your face. You were still like, almost glowing that you were there, but it's burning. You're telling me that right now. Like, I mean, how does it sit with you after all these months now? How that all went down?
Yeah, like I think I smile because I just can't stop smiling. It's who I am, and I smile, but like sometimes it's like I'm smiling, but my eyes are saying I'm dying.
Mm, mm.
It's like it does hurt you. Like losing hurts. I hate losing. And you put so much work in and you could see it and you're just like, I know I should have won. I know I could have won, or that those kind of things. So yeah, it does hurt, but I have to stay positive, and then I do have to look at like where I am, and I want to give off that I am happy. I never want to give off that I'm dying inside. I would say that to my coaches and in private, but I would never like tell other people like it was the worst day of my life because it wasn't. It was the best day of my life, you know. And but inside, you're like, I really wish I could have, won that for everyone watching at home, for everyone to be like, "Yay, we won!" I wanted to be for everyone, not just for myself, but as well as for myself, I wanted to win that first fight. I really wanted to win that first fight, especially like after Tokyo because I lost my first fight and, after that whole thing. But yeah, it would have been a win in itself if I won that first fight. After that, it would because I knew I had a really good draw. Getting through that first fight was really important. And then after that, I had strategy in place for every fight coming. And so yeah, it's just the way it goes.
I love that attitude, Stacey. I love, like, it's sort of the most happiest, saddest way of describing a loss ever, if that makes sense. Like, it's sort of like it burns and it sucks, but it's such a great day. Like, I mean, I love hearing how that's described. And legitimately, as I said, I interviewed you. I was the only one there basically interviewing you directly afterwards in the mix zone. And it sort of didn't, I don't want to say it took me back in a way, because ultimately I'd interviewed a lot of people in that period in Paris and you'd seen disappointment on the faces and everything along those lines. But I was expecting you to be a lot sadder that you had just lost. And it kind of took me back a little bit that you were so smiley, and I applaud you for that because it's as a journalist, we don't know what to expect sometimes when you're interviewing someone in a heat of disappointment in that way, but you took that in your stride, and it was very hard to tell that was burning you deep inside.
Yeah, I've got a very hard shell on the outer side. Um, yes, I can be emotional, but I do hold it together as well. It's hard for me to just let it all out. Like when I see people who do that, I'm just like, that's really emotional, but I could never do that. I'm like, I'll go cry, behind the scenes, but I won't show it. Yeah.
You won't show it that way. I can imagine, though, that, I mean, I always love hearing this from athletes who have to sit through and wait for a repechage. We had Jaden Lawrence, wrestler, on, and he sort of talked about the fact that he obviously ultimately came back for a repechage match, but you are there basically sitting, cheering on now for Maria to keep going, essentially, at that point, right? So when she then ultimately loses in the next round, are you just like, fuck, all right, looks like I'm going to go eat more muffins in the village or something like that? I mean, is that just, a bit more burn for the day, or is it almost a bit of relief because you can finally just, I don't know, chill for a little bit more now?
I was sitting in the stands and I had my friends, back at home, and they messaged me watching the same fight, China versus Brazil, going, "Are we going for Brazil? We're going for China. Like, do we want Brazil to win this one?" And I'm like, "No, we want Brazil to win." They're like, "I'm confused. Before I didn't like it, but now I like it." It's like, yeah, same.
It's such an odd concept sometimes, isn't it, that you're kind of cheering for the person that beat you, essentially, from that point on. But, that's why we have repechage. That's sort of how it works. I mean, the opponent you lost to, we've talked about it plenty of times on this show back in Tokyo, Skylar. Obviously, Skylar Park, she got eliminated, but then she came back and, won the bronze medal basically through the repechage. So she was able to do that. So, which, I mean, it's just... It's such. Do you like? I mean, it's a dumb question to ask an athlete. Of course, if you get eliminated, you're going to like the fact that you can come back in. But I mean, if you are in Skylar's position and you go on to win the bronze after losing a match, like I don't know how to phrase this question. Is that feel different in a way than if you just kept winning your way through rather than having lost one to have to come back in? If that makes sense.
I think repechage is a really good thing, especially in the games. I think I think it's very fair as well, because for repechage you have to win the first fight to then get into the bronze medal match.
True.
So yeah,
I'm
I
never going to
think
get somebody flat out
yeah.
say to me, "No, I don't like repechage," because I think they're, any athlete who says I don't like it is probably in the wrong sport. So
Yeah. Yeah,
I need a
exactly.
repechage for that question, Stacey, essentially. But I mean, look, we've talked about this plenty of times in the show. There are some sports that don't have it that really should. There are some that have it, which I would argue maybe they shouldn't. But that's a whole other topic of conversation for another time. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you got another chance to come back in, you're definitely going to take it. We're going to get to some questions, and we asked you a bunch of questions in the first interview, but we've changed this up. We're doing something different, which I'm going to close out in just a moment. But the question I have to ask you, Stacey, given now it's been a few months, because I hate asking this question to Olympians directly after an Olympics, because they're probably going to tell me to shut up. They've just gotten over one Olympics. They're not thinking about the next one. But now that it's been a few months, LA 2028, is this on the agenda now? Is this what you're pushing now towards a third Olympics in what was now just over 3 years' time at the time of recording this?
Yeah, I will be going to LA 2028. I am preparing for it. I'm training for it. I am going to do everything I can to get there. So
Beautiful.
2028, let's go.
And then 2032, right? Because you're still young. I mean, 2032, you what, be only 33. That's young. Come on, that's younger than me.
No, 2032, I'm either a coach, a support staff, someone. I am not competing when I'm
Home
33.
Olympics, Stacey. Come on. Doesn't that entire... I mean, Australia are undefeated. We every time we've hosted the Olympics and Taekwondo's been there, we've won at least a gold medal. So I'm just saying it's a perfect record. So come on.
No, I'm going to do the media crew in 2032. I'm not competing.
You'll be commentating there for Channel 9. You'll be sitting next to Carl Stefanovic or somebody and doing the expert comments. How's that? That works?
Maybe.
Yeah? There you go. I can learn enough about Taekwondo in 7 years. I'll commentate next year, Stacey. There we go. We can form a duo. Go. That works.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah. Done. All right. We're locking that away. As I said, we're gonna try something new here. For the first time on this show, we've got a standard set of 10 questions, which now is going to be asked to every single one of our guests. So we've gone away with the Team Canada questionnaire that we've been asking on this show for a decade, essentially. And we've come up with our own 10 questions. And you, Stacey, get to be the very first person to answer these questions. So, I don't know if this is going to be a good or a bad thing, but we're about to find out. Are you ready to try this and be our guinea pig here and off the podium?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. Let's go. Now, most of these are fun. There's a couple of deep ones, but we'll get through these ones. What's the one thing that you never leave home without when traveling to a competition?
Mouth guard.
Mouth guard. That's smart. Want to keep those teeth. There you go. I like that.
Yep.
I remember playing hockey as a boy, and mouth guard, my dad was always like, got your mouth guard, got your mouth guard. So that's very smart. What's a tradition or superstition you follow before every big competition?
Setting out your training gear and everything before you leave.
Right. So
and choosing the right undies and sports bra.
That's also very interesting. Do you have a lucky pair of undies or a lucky bra or something like that you kind of go with, or?
Just comfort ones. Just comfortable ones.
Okay.
And the ones that look nice underneath, when you feel good, quite good.
Yeah, exactly. I like a good sports bra. It's got to be comfortable. I agree with that one there. What's a song that is on every one of your pre-competition playlists, no matter what?
Oh, geez. I don't know.
There's not just a go-to. It sort of changes, or?
I'm thinking probably like Eminem or something.
Okay. Yeah. Eminem gets you pumped up, right? Got to love the Eminem. A bit of Marshall.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm even saying it. I have no idea. I don't really listen to a set playlist. Okay. You know what? I don't listen to Eminem.
All right. You don't. All right. You scrap that.
Scrap that one.
We didn't hear that one. So it sort of changes. It depends on the mood, right? Sort of what you're going to be putting on there or something along those lines to change. Yeah. I like that. All right. That works. I like this question. What's the most unexpected or funny DM you've ever gotten as an Olympian?
People just saying, "Can you kick me in the face?"
They actually want you to kick you in the face. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Do you ask how much they're willing to pay, or do you just say no?
Oh, I just laugh on it and then I don't reply.
I want to know how much. Like, okay, how much? Like, it could fund you for a couple of years. You never know. They could be rich.
I don't know. Maybe.
Weird people out there, Stacey. You never know. What is the weirdest thing that you've ever eaten at an international competition?
Probably eel when in Tokyo.
Nice. All right. Did you enjoy it or not again? Or
not really?
No. Okay. Pass on the eel. All right. There you go. What is your ultimate guilty pleasure meal after you've finished a big competition like the Olympics?
Pasta, burger.
Ooh.
Yeah. Pasta or burger. Definitely.
Good answers. All right. Were there good ones in the Paris village at all? Did they have many good pastas and burgers?
Burger. I got 2 cheeseburgers and I just smashed them every single day after a competition. Yeah.
Good.
That was so good.
I like that. All right. If you could swap sports for a day with another Olympian, what event would you choose and how do you think you'd do?
I think I'd have to do like soccer. I just love it. I just love running around. So I just love kicking the ball. It's just fun, and you got the big stadium around you. I just want to be part of it.
I could see you soaking up that. I could see you, getting the crowd involved, scoring a goal, milking up the celebrations. I can see you doing that. That works. I like that. If your Olympic journey were a movie, what would the title be and who would play you? That's a deep question.
Wild Reckless.
Wow. Okay, Wild Reckless.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Or Rebel Without a Cause.
Rebel Without, I like. Yeah, that's a good one. Who do you think would play you though? Any thoughts on who would play you?
I don't know. He's like a sporty actor. Who's someone? I don't know.
I'm thinking like Keira Knightley circa Bend It Like Beckham. If you remember Bend It Like Beckham, ever seen that one? Like,
yeah, I know what you're saying. I
can see you do that.
Yeah.
Go back and watch it. A lot more like when a lot more of that sporty side of things. I think she could pull it off. And there's I can see a bit of the look there in the face, Stacey. So, okay, all right. There we go. We'll create these posters. We'll get AI to do these over things. 2 more to go. What's the one question that you're tired of being asked, and what is the one question that you wish people would ask you instead?
Are you back at training?
Are you back at training?
When people ask me that, it's like, yeah, what else do I do? I train every day.
Yes,
It's
it's
like, are
just
you
because,
training? It's
you
like,
don't get time
yes,
off.
yeah.
Is there a question that
Oh,
you wish people would ask you? Like, is there something like as a taekwondo athlete that you're dying to talk about that, or, people should know more about you or your sport?
I think they should ask, like, what food am I craving?
Burgers and pasta.
Burgers and pasta. Exactly.
Burgers and
Easy
pasta. There
answer.
you go. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Last one. This is a big, deep question to end it out on. What's one lesson that you've learnt from losing that you think has shaped you more than winning?
Well, losing has made me be like, brush it off, get rid of it. It's gone.
Push
Next
it
one,
aside.
in focus, onto the
Okay.
next,
On to
water
the
on
next
duck's
one.
back. Just go.
Love
You
it.
lost. I think I've lost that many times in my life. I'm just like, yeah, like fuck it, whatever. I lost
You're used
again.
to
Who
it.
cares?
Done. Push it aside. There you go. I like that. There you go.
Yeah,
Okay. Done. How were those questions? Do they have a future on this podcast, Stacey? Do you think we're on to a winner with those 10 questions?
I like them. They're
Okay.
good. I reckon they should stay.
Good. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'll slip you some money afterwards for promoting that very well. You've done your job very well here on Off the Podium. Stacey, always a pleasure having you here on the podcast. Obviously, wish you the best of luck for everything moving forward towards LA, and we'll definitely get you back on the show, be it in the lead up to LA or after LA, with that nice shiny gold medal around your neck that you deserve. After all this losing that you're talking about, we want to change that. It's going to be winning gold medal LA 2028.
Proud loser, but eager to win a medal. No, thank you so much for having me. As always, it's always a pleasure.